Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Good morning. Welcome to Up and Go. My name is Richie B. We made it through the weekend, and that is why we're here with you right now, and we'll be taking you through the paces of Up and Go all the way until 11 o'clock this morning. We've got a nice, interesting program lined up for you. Some wonderful music, some wonderful guests as well, and we expect some great discussions on various topics, including social, political, and you name it, we'll have it. How was your weekend? Yeah? Okay, that's one reaction. How was yours? Tough? Oh, yeah? I'm not understanding that language. DJ, how was your weekend? Good. Okay. All right, I'll tell you about a scare that I had and how I rectified that situation. Remind me to do that before 7:15. In the meantime, we say hello and welcome, world. You wanted to know the scare that I had on the weekend. I got up and felt a little stuffy. Throat felt a little groggy. And I ain't taking no chances. So we're living in a pandemic. So what you do is you go and get tested. And I did that on the weekend. My goodness. Thankfully, results came back negative. Oddly, you were telling me, was it last week that you
last
did?
Week.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
you paid $10,000.
Yeah,
I paid $6,000 for my test at a very reputable institution. And I said, is that the same price that you charge during the week? They say, no, we charge $5,000 during the week and $6,000 on the weekend. Yes, on Winchester Avenue. Yeah. Big medical center. Yeah.
Go back for one.
Ask for a refund. Worse luck.
Richie, refund.
Yeah, so that is what I did. Thankfully, everything was A-okay. But you know, what this brought to mind is the fact that, you know, normally you feel a little stuffy, and you might do some combination of maybe some honey and lime or some garlic, stuff like that. Even gargling salt water for the throat is also good. But, man, we're living in a pandemic. I forgot all about those things. I totally forgot that these things can be done. Because once you start feeling stuffy, you want to find out if it's COVID. It's a serious thing.
You know, Richie, just a quick point. When I went and I did my test,
Yeah.
my doctor, she was actually saying, because we're living in COVID,
Yeah.
everybody totally forget that it's a flu.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I tried no home remedies. Straight at the test center. And I'm sure there are many other people like us out there. You know, this time we have what we call WTF, which is What the Fact. Got through that fairly easily this morning. Nobody even looked nervous. Okay, so here's a fact that we want to share with you. A cloud can weigh more than 1 million pounds. I never knew this. Well, let's learn something here together. Clouds are not as light and fluffy as they appear. In fact, researchers have found that a single cloud weighs about 1.1 million pounds. How do they know? Well, that number is calculated by taking the water density of a cloud and multiplying it by its volume. Fortunately, the cloud can still float at that weight because the air below it is even heavier. These are startling facts in almost every line in this feature. Seriously. Yeah, a cloud can weigh more than 1 million pounds. And you heard exactly how that is calculated. That's a startling fact. I never knew it at all. I learned a lot in that segment. That was WTF, What the Fact. Join us again tomorrow morning at 7:25 when once again we'll have another in our series, What the Fact, for you right here on Up and Go. Wow, we had some serious price increases going on. Chicken price gone up. Electricity price out for go up. What are we going to do? Petrol prices are climbing. The dollar is devaluing. Beverages, those prices went up. Liquor. What are the consumers going to do? Only God knows. Oh boy. And we're living in a pandemic. By the way, we see where the chief medical officer says that we here in Jamaica might reach the peak in this fourth wave by somewhere towards the end of January into early February. That is what the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Jacqueline DeSace McKenzie, said recently. That we here in Jamaica might reach the peak in this Omicron wave, or the fourth wave as they call it, sometime toward the end of January into early February. I was looking at what Dr. Fauci is saying out of the United States of America, and he's saying, and I quote, "I'm confident as can be that the Omicron wave in the U.S. will peak by mid-February." That is what Fauci is saying. We note, though, that in a growing number of states, that peak has already come and gone, and many cases are plunging in states like New York and Florida. Other states we see, such as Oklahoma and Idaho and Wyoming, are still reporting an uptick in new COVID-19 cases. That is as far as the U.S. is concerned. So different perspectives as to when different countries might reach their peak. We can't wait to get past it, and we certainly hope that the numbers continue to trend downwards or start trending downwards in the near future. Having said that, it's 7:34. We inform, we educate, and we entertain. Right now it's time for our usual feature at this time. It's the proverb of the day. I'm going to allow you to hear the proverb, and then I'll share with you the translation, followed by the explanation for that Jamaican proverb. Let's hear it first of all.
Jankra never make house till rain come.
You heard that?
Jankra never make house till rain come.
Jankra never make house till rain come. I actually like the way the proverb is delivered. I try to emulate it every morning, and I'm not as good as you are, but well done. it has a vibe. So, Jankra never make house till rain come. Something like that. Thank you, Jody. Now, translation. John Crow never thinks of making his house until it rains. Okay, that is the translation. What do you make of that, my people? While you're thinking about it, let me tell you the official explanation. Some people never make provision for a rainy day. You don't want to be like those persons now. Junker never make house till rain come. Nah, you don't want to go that route. You want to make provisions for that rainy day. So, the explanation of that Jamaican proverb, some people never make provision for a rainy day. That's what that means. Right now, we're getting closer to that time when we speak with Dr. Dayton Campbell. He's the People's National Party's General Secretary. I want to say congratulations to Derrimon Trading Company. And hi to Mr. Derek Cottrell. Morning, Derek. And also to Ian Kelly. Saw them in the news recently where they actually purchased, they acquired the business and assets of Spicy Hill Farms, a Trelawney-based business that deals in the manufacturing of dried agricultural products, soup, and spice mixes. And so they're expanding. I think this is the first time that Derrimon is actually venturing into food manufacturing, so to speak. And so we congratulate them on their expanded moves and upward climb. Congratulations again, Derek Cottrell and Ian Kelly. And best wishes to yourself and to your team, all right? Big ups to my friends down there at Sam Pars as well. Talking about investment, and you have to have money in order to invest, right? You don't have to necessarily have a lot, but you need to have some money in order to invest. But I saw some pictures emerging on the weekend. I don't know how many of you saw them, where some motor vehicles were on display. Apparently several persons who own very, very high-end vehicles. They all seem to have gotten together. Most of them businessmen and athletes and others, some of whom I don't even know. And all of these very expensive cars were just all strewn in one area, driving out together. And it was a good look. I know oddly, that would not have escaped your attention, I'm sure.
You listen. I would have to see those things because, listen, you know me, I'm a car guy. You understand?
Let me tell you something, Richie. We saw vehicles out there. I think, oddly, would you say that about some of them value about 50, 60 million Jamaican dollars?
Listen.
Yeah.
That collection is maybe close to about maybe 400 million.
Okay, with all the cars together.
Those are supercars.
50, 40. I don't think I saw a vehicle that would be less than, say, 40 million. And there were several of the higher end closer to 60 million. So, no matter what fool you. Money there, Jamaica. Don't make nobody fool you. Dollars there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And they just roll out, a few businessmen and some other celebrities just roll out on a weekend and go have some fun and get back in. We're very happy at this time to say good morning and welcome to the current General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, who is our guest at this time. Good morning, Dr. Campbell. How are you doing?
Hi, good morning, and good morning to your listeners. All the best for the new year. I'm doing fine.
To you too. To you too, Doc, and all the best to you and your family also. Good to have you at this early hour. And there are a number of things that we want to be talking about. We have seen an increase in murders and acts of violence and crime in our country. As a matter of fact, there's something being circulated which says, first in Jamaica's history, 7 women shot in less than 24 hours. 3 dead in Trelawney, 1 dead in Spanish Town, 1 dead in Nagohead, 1 dead in Dunkirk, 1 injured in Spanish Town. I have to ask you at the very outset, what is your reading into the upsurge in murders, crime, and violence taking place in our country?
I'm not sure what is the cause of it, but what is for sure is that the level of fear in the society is almost palpable, and it needs immediate intervention. And it needs an all hands-on-deck approach to engage all of the stakeholders and to see how best we can arrest this crime monster. So I do believe that there's a multi-pronged approach that has to be pursued by the government. One, they have to look at the legislative framework that is in place. I don't think that has been the strongest point for this administration. 2, they need to look at how they can ensure that there's certainty of punishment as opposed to focusing on the severity of punishment, because it has been shown that it is the certainty of punishment and not the severity that serves as a deterrence. And they need to focus on the hardcore policing, increase boots on the ground, which is what people want in most of their communities. They want to see increased police presence. They want to see joint operations between the police and the military. And this government, for some strange reason, continues to sell a falsehood as if that can only take place under a state of emergency. It is not true. A government and a police force is able to have joint operations. They are able to deploy more police to a particular community. They are able to use curfews, cordon and search, all of these things. The only thing that a state of emergency gives them that, for instance, a Zozo would not give them is the right to just arrest somebody for a prolonged period of time without charging them and without them having access to the courts. And I don't think that is what persons are clamoring for. I think persons want increased presence in the community. They have to focus as well on the softer police things. So the social intervention within the communities. We can well recall that in a volatile community by the name of Augusto, that there was a year in which there was no murders. And that wasn't because there was a SOE down there. It was because of the social intervention programs by the PMI, Unite for Change, and those initiatives. Because one of the main drivers of murders in this country is actually reprisal. So when you engage persons that can intervene in the community and break the cycle of reprisal, when you engage the young people and make them feel uplifted about their community. Some inner city community have raw sewage running on the road. How do you engage those that we call unattached? How do you get them attached to something? Put a skills training program in place so you can get them employable and find them employment so they can be gainfully employed. How do you motivate your police force? I don't think in all of my history in this country I've seen what I saw a couple months ago, where we saw scores of police actually physically out there on the road protesting, not just a sick out or something of the nature. We're talking about police out there physically protesting over their remuneration. So the government has to ensure that the police are not overworked and underpaid, because that will leave very little room for motivation. And so I think what they need to do is to focus on the holistic approach to the problem that is there. Get all of the stakeholders on board. This approach of trying to blame one side and cast the blame on everybody except themselves would suggest that the government has outlived its usefulness.
The call by the People's National Party for more ZOSOs. Do you think the JCF has the capacity to accommodate like several more ZOSOs in the hotspots, and there are many across the island?
They do have the capacity, because what you do get is something we call a balloon effect. If you inflate a balloon and you apply your index finger to one side of it, you displace the air to another side. That's what happens if you only saturate some of the communities. You displace the criminals. So you may see that there's a decrease in murders in St. James when it's under SOE. But if you look at the neighboring parishes of Trelawney, if you look at the neighboring parishes of Trelawney, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, you realize that there's an uptick. Recently, the police said that was a triple murder in Trelawney, that it was mistaken identity. And it's pretty much because of the migration of criminals. So in order to really arrest the situation, you need to be able to blanket several of the communities. And so the government, in their approach that they're training more soldiers than police, is not a wise approach for them to be pursuing. They need to ensure that they bolster the numbers within the police force. And the ZOSO was designed as a crime-fighting measure. The SOE is not a crime-fighting measure. The ZOSO was designed as a crime-fighting measure. There's nothing that says you have to do at a certain pace the social intervention within these communities. So the argument that you don't have the resources, to me, does not make sense. Mm-hmm. Because if you're in a time of crisis, you can focus on deploying the police and arresting that situation, and then you come at a later date to focus on the social intervention. You really don't need a ZOSO or anything to go in a community and ensure that people have a birth certificate, to ensure that you remove zinc fence and those things. Those are regular things that the agencies of government are supposed to be doing.
There was some sticking points initially from your side in relation to the SOEs. I remember there was this matter of the 7-day review of detention and also a 90-day mandatory release. My understanding is that those were accommodated. What are the primary issues then now with the SOEs from your side?
The fundamental problem is that, remember that there's a ruling that the SOEs are unconstitutional. The matter, they brought the matter before a judge, and there was a ruling that, no, this is unconstitutional, they have to release the persons. And the matter has been placed formally in the Constitutional Court, and we're awaiting the hearing of that. But the fundamental problem is that the SOE is not a crime-fighting tool. I mean, the SOE is really when the state is under threat, because it appears as if persons want to overthrow the legitimate government of the day, as took place in 2010 in Western Kingston, where that community barricaded themselves and they were attacking the state. They were firebombing police station and those sort of things. In those circumstances, everybody would support a state of emergency. But in these circumstances now, where you have a legislation like the ZOSO, which allows you to do almost everything that the SOE does without allowing you to detain persons without charging them for a prolonged period of time and them not having access to the courts. So that's a fundamental issue. You know, it cannot be that members of, whether it is the PSOJ, the government, however, well, the government may be arguing that, because the former Attorney General did say that you will have to abridge a Borgate and infringe on some person's rights. Funnily enough, she's now in charge of constitutional matters. Yeah. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah, totally.
But if you are able to use the ZOSO, I don't see what the issue is. The minister is saying that you can't overuse the ZOSO because it will decrease its usefulness. But that's the exact point with the state of emergency. The state of emergency by nature suggests to you that it's something that is short-term. How could the Prime Minister be saying you would need a state of emergency for 7 years? Could you have an emergency going on for 7 years?
You would recognize that there are many within the society who feel that the SOEs ought to be allowed. In fact, even within your ranks, I saw where Philip Paulwell came out recently and said that the decision against the SOEs will come back to haunt the party. We have seen where PSOJ leaders like Don Webby and Keith Duncan are also adding their voice, and many within the society. Are you at this time and this morning, can you say whether or not the PNP will even look at it again and to see whether or not your position might change somewhat or any?
No, because remember now, I'm explaining to you, and I would love to have the conversation with Mr. Duncan, Mr. Webby, and any one of these members. Mm-hmm. You have the zones of special operation that allows you to have joint operation between military and police, allows you to do curfew, cordon and search, and all of these things. The only thing that it does not allow you to do is to randomly detain persons without a charge or a prolonged period of time without them having access to the courts. It could never be. That is what the PSLJ is advocating for. So I'm saying that I think that they've successfully conflated the issues in some persons' minds. Because if you will go to those persons and you drill down the issue, what they really want is increased police presence within their community. That's what they really want. They want to see joint operation between police and military, and they want increased police presence within their community. And to have that, we're saying you do not need a state of emergency. This government has pulled a wool over the eyes of the people in suggesting that in order for you to have that, you need a state of emergency. It is simply not true.
Dr. Campbell, how does the People's National Party plan to sort of assist the government in fighting this crime beast? How will you assist, if called upon so to do?
Several ways. We are on board to assist with any measure that is constitutional, because crime is a problem that is affecting all of us. Any measure that the government brings forward that is constitutional has the 100% support of the opposition, as does the Zozo. That is something that was amendments were made to that. I was in the parliament at the time. It has our full support. If the government were to remove the politics from how they are governing, when Minister Montague was placed as Minister of National Security in 2016, they stopped Unite for Change. They have defunded the PMI. All of these things that have shown to be effective. I spoke earlier about Augusttown not having any murders for an entire year based on the social intervention. Somehow this minister continues an argument to say that these programs are too expensive, and I don't know how he puts a price on a life. How does he value a life? That's what I would like to know. Because in my mind, anything that we can do to disrupt the cycle of violence and the cycle of reprisal, then we should do so. Because this thing is getting to a point now where it's endemic and it's almost palpable, the level of fear within our society. Forget about sleeping with windows and doors open. Persons are now almost barricading themselves within their homes.
So you agree then that we are in a crisis, I suspect. What do you want to leave with the listeners this morning from the PNP side, which you represent?
I've long said, right? And I just run over quickly that, one, the government needs to bring legislation to the parliament. Two, they need to focus on ensuring there's certainty of punishment, which means they need to ensure that these matters can get through the courts quickly, you can use evidence, and you can actually convict persons. Three, supporting hardcore policing, having the military police on the ground, ensuring that you have joint operation, curfews, cordon and search. Four, the social intervention programs within the society. Five, focusing on the police and their welfare. Six, the skills training and the education of our young people so they can be attached to something. And I'm making a call as well to the regular citizens of this country. I've said before, between the two political parties, we have a network in communities that can tell us exactly what is the political thinking of the members within the society. I refuse to believe that they don't know where the violence producers within the society. So I think that there needs to be an engagement of that political apparatus within the different communities across this country to provide information and intelligence to the police force.
All right. Dr. Dayton Campbell, always good to have you on the program. Thank you for your thoughts and have a good day.
Pleasure. All the best.
All the best to you, too. All right, 18 minutes now past the hour of 8 o'clock. You heard it there. That was the General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell. We looked at primarily matters to do with our nation's security and all that's been happening, which we all know about. We certainly hope that there will be even greater collaboration between the leading the government and the opposition, and that the right solutions will be put forward. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen, when we do have another guest, as we have been telling you. Our guest at this time is a multi-award winning Canadian supermodel. She's an entrepreneur, an actress, and TV host for Travel Africa Network. Now, let me just tell you by way of background, her career catapulted after winning the season 1 of Supermodel Canada, and that was quite an achievement. She has attained international success and has made headlines all over the world through appearances on Stitched Fashion Competition, on Slice TV. She has been covered by various news portals, including NBC, Fox News, Vogue UK, the Daily Mail, Glamour Magazine, and so many others. This morning she wants to stop by to talk to us about some of her challenges and how she has overcome them and how she's helping teens also to sort of overcome their own insecurities. At this time, we welcome award-winning supermodel Nini Amerilse. Good morning, Nini.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Congratulations and welcome to Up and Go here on the bridge. How have you been doing?
I've been doing well. I've been on this amazing journey and I'm just super excited to hopefully impact some people who are going to be joining us today.
All right. So now that you're on my screen, I'm recognizing the face because I've watched your programs before. Wonderful.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, wonderful to have you.
Likewise.
I wanted to start by asking you to tell our listeners a little bit about your journey and your award as an award-winning supermodel. How did it all begin?
Well, initially, I didn't want to be a model. Back in 2014, the journey did begin. I was trying to tap into something new, something fresh. After many years of self-identity issues, I didn't have a lot of self-love and quite of understanding of, purpose and identity. So the 2014 chapter, after going through so much bullying, abuse, confusion with who Nini was at the time, to now transitioning to a place of a lot of healing through mentorship and, the fashion world being a place where I could freely be myself, allowed me to tap into, different attributes of myself that I didn't even know or was aware of. The first casting that I came across was the Face of African Fashion Week, and that was in Toronto. And that was the first organization where I could identify with both my Caribbean and African roots, because that was something that they would allow to be shown in the Canadian lights in a positive demeanor. It wasn't something that was very common in the Canadian sector because of, the subliminal racism that would take place. But when I tapped into that particular niche, I found my place there, and I realized that there were so many young people and young women and young men that didn't know, their self in the means of where they fit in today's modern society.
So I'm aware of your African connection, being originally from Ghana, I think it is. But I didn't know much about your Caribbean connections. Can you tell us about those?
Of course. So my mom was born in Kingston, Jamaica. And every year she would bring me back to Jamaica every single year to the region where her family's from. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Trenchtown. Of course, this is a Jamaican radio station, but Trenchtown, Jamaica.
Okay.
And my grandmother, she used to cook for the Prime Minister.
Wow.
So back in like the 80s and 70s. And, so integrating with that side of my life, I knew the Caribbean and Jamaican aspect more versus the Ghanaian aspect, just because my mom, was a single mother.
Okay.
And my dad wasn't in my life. Okay. And I only discovered the Ghanaian side that last couple of 3 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Did you get the skills of your grandma, all those cooking skills that you mentioned a while ago?
I love cooking, so a little bit. I believe I did.
Okay. Let us focus now on your entry into the Canadian supermodel competition, Supermodel Canada, I think it was. What is that experience like for you?
Oh my goodness. So Supermodel Canada was a life-changing experience. It's a lot like America's Next Top Model, just in the Canadian sector. So, we had a lot of challenges that we had to go through. My thing that I had to overcome while in the competition was the phobia of deep water. And when I was walking around in one of my challenges, we had to go on the very tight parameters of the swimming pool. And if you topple over, you would be in at least a 10-foot deep water. And actually, which was surprising to know that I actually won that challenge.
Yes.
And it was also, I believe, me and my connection with my faith with the Lord, because my journey transitioned in 2015 when I decided to walk with Jesus. And I was initially an atheist, but as I connected with the Lord in the competition, I felt his presence literally guide me and comfort me and told me, although you may not be focused on winning, I want you to just go in as a learning experience to connect with the people and to grow. And that was my objective, not to win, but to grow, to learn and connect. And I believe, through that process of encountering those challenges, rooting on some of my family members who were actually part of the competition. I shout out to Devette Francis, I'm a Francis as well from my grandmother's side. Yes. But yes, all of these different aspects refined me in the competition, although it was very scary, became a blessing in disguise.
We promised that it would have been a powerful story, and it is turning out to be just that. You have had to face and overcome a number of challenges in your career as a supermodel. Tell us about some of those challenges.
Well, definitely, I can talk about the factor that I've been declined by 300 agencies before winning Supermodel Canada. And that began in the Canadian sector. I applied, and all of them would reply back saying, you're not quite what we're looking for, and never give you a definitive answer. And which subliminal meant that because you are a Black woman, we're not going to choose you. And your features that you have are not quite the standard of the look that is typically chosen in the media. So, as a Black woman who has more of a West African type of cheekbones and, Caribbean, different descent, all mixed into one, many people couldn't place me in the industry. I was body shamed. They said my hips are too broad. They told me that I need to lose weight when I first began. Yes, and I'm just like, in my head, I didn't see the purpose of why to lose weight, especially when I was now understanding my identity. But I kept trailblazing through. I didn't, succumb to what, the standards of, the modeling industry was telling me. But I kept driving myself and telling me, you are beautiful, you are confident, you have the confidence to go to the next level. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And these are the words that I learned while reading the Word of God. So while I activated that mentality, I started to scale mountains that I've never scaled before. And 2017 was that hitting point where my life transitioned for the rest of my life.
And now here you are. You have formed the Royals Inc. Foundation. I understand that you help young people to overcome their insecurities and challenges that they might face. Give us a little bit more detail as to what you do at Royals Inc.
So we are Royals Inc. is basically a platform where young creatives of all kind, whether you're a model, a singer, a dancer, an actor, it will have that particular proclivity, wants to explore, but may not know how to because either they have the lack of confidence or suffered a lot of mental health issues while growing up. So we excavate them and bring them out of an understanding that they are kings and queens. So when you understand that you are a king and queen, literally handmade and crafted from the creator, God himself, and we send them now into workshops to now get the recalibration of the mind, recalibration of the self-worth. And then they go through a process of mentorship through the particular niche that they're interested. So whether if you are a model, you would have an instructor or a mentor under that department to now give you awesome tips, give you live demonstrations on how to navigate through that. And as you explore it, you begin to see these young youth transcend out of their shell and see, wow, I can do this. If I can do this, then she can do this. And it becomes a ripple effect with everybody that even signs up to the platform. We have many instructors. We also have tours. We actually just wrapped up our first tour in Ghana, where we had a few youths that connected and were understanding the different dynamics and the dynamos of how creativity can actually bring you outside of your comfort zone to discover your hidden potentials and your hidden gifts. Even if you don't decide to end up becoming our model or a singer or a dancer, it still helps the foundational principles to get to you to the place of maybe where your purpose is or where your destiny is calling you. Yeah. So we have mentors, workshops, we have seminars. We aim to have another seminar coming up in the USA, in the Texas region, during the May time, where people of all kinds can gather, and this would be only for $10. Wow. So that is quite affordable for everybody to just join. The more people that come on, the more people can get recalibrated and activated towards their destiny. Yeah. And then we also give the royals, which we call them, which we do believe they are because they're kings and queens, the opportunity to share their story in a place where we're not judging them, we're not harshly criticizing them, but giving them an opportunity to just be raw with where they're coming from, who they are. For me, I never had the opportunity to share what I've gone through. You know, I've gone through the abuse, rape, violation. I've been through, bullying for years, systematic bullying from the age of 4 years old, racism, all different things, skin bleaching. Didn't understand that the beauty that's always been there will never be gone. And that was already placed from within, from God. Yeah. And when we understand that uniqueness and that we should not compete with our brothers and sisters, but rather lift them up, then we can push them towards their place of destination. Yeah.
You're lifting up a lot of persons with your testimony this morning, and I'm really, really happy to have had you. How can youths from around the world, really, including here in Jamaica, get involved in this foundation?
So youths have the access of contacting us, whether online, we have online programs as well. We want to also give back to the Jamaican community, as well as having programs there and facilitate them. So we're actually looking for mentors within the region and those who can sponsor the project to make it become active in Jamaica as well. And those who are maybe connecting outside of the Jamaican sector, whether you're in Barbados or Trinidad or any other parts of the Caribbean, we want to make that accessible. So it's a day-by-day process with our team, strategizing what's next. But so far we've hit a lot of places within the Canadian sector, Ghana, Nigeria from the tour, and hitting USA. And now we definitely want to integrate into the Caribbean market and Jamaica, which is my mom's hometown. So why not give back to where I'm coming from? And they can contact us from contact@weareroyals.org or follow us at weareroyals.inc.
All right. Well, listen, we were always proud of you as an African lady, and now we're even more proud because we understand your Jamaican connection. So congratulations on all that you have done, and best wishes for all that you will continue to do. Great talking with you, Nini, and best wishes for 2022.
Thank you so much, and you have a good one. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. Y'all. Love you all too. Love you too. All right, that's Nini Amerilse, ladies and gentlemen, an award-winning supermodel and TV host. Oh yeah, I've watched her and I never knew that she had any Jamaican connections whatsoever. And she has done a whole lot of good, and continues so to do. Big up, Nini Amerilse. There's also a story that caught my attention where a journalist, a Turkish journalist, was arrested recently, apparently for insulting the president Erdogan. He used some reference to a proverb, not a Jamaican proverb, like we carry at 7:45 in the mornings, but there's a proverb in Turkey that makes reference to an ox. And when you translate the proverb, it means when the ox comes to the palace, he does not become a king, but the palace becomes a barn. And because This prominent Turkish journalist decided to make that kind of an analogy. The president has actually, he's arrested. He's arrested. We don't have any such laws here in Jamaica because these days it seems so many people take joy in ridiculing our leaders. And we don't encourage that kind of behavior at all. We have to get to the point when we show respect to our leaders, no matter what, even if you disagree. I don't know that there are any such laws that would cause for arrest, but there are some developments that are troubling. Right now, it's 5 minutes before the hour of 11 o'clock, and we want to play your final song. Just before we do that, I'd like to thank Dr. Dayton Campbell, the People's National Party's General Secretary, who was my guest at 8 o'clock this morning. I'd like to thank also my news team. News 360 was delivered at 8:30. We had a wonderful chat with Nini Amerilse, right? Yeah, Nini is an award-winning supermodel of Ghanaian and Jamaican descent, and she's also a TV host, and she told us wonderful stories in that chat at 9 o'clock. Of course, we took the time to send shout-outs to some brothers in the business, including Romaine and Business Signal, Ninja Man, and we added also Admiral Bailey and DeVille later on in the program. They're having birthdays today. If you know where to find them, reach out to them and say happy birthday. And then, of course, the enjoyable Global Connection with DJ Roy, which just closed out a few moments ago. Thank you to DJ Audley. Thank you to Jody. Thank you, Richie, Romaine, Jeff Brown. Thank you, Sean, and the rest of the team for helping us to make it through the morning. It was a pleasure bringing it to you. This has been Up and Go. Join us again tomorrow morning at 7. We'll do it all over again. Have a great day. Be safe. And don't forget that we love you. Bye-bye.
Richie B, the party master, on Up and Go, The Bridge, 99 FM.